Tell you what a difference 9 days makes. What a difference 9 days makes. 9 days before ago, I said, and everything before then, I told you Joe Biden was toast. That Donald Trump was going to win the election, probably not a landslide because we're so divided as a country anyway that a landslide is impossible right now with the way things are right now, where we are partisan wise at each side. But Donald Trump's going to win, at the very least, close to numbers he won in 2016 with 306 electoral votes, maybe win more than that. Joe Biden was bringing down his party, whatnot, and we were on the way to a Donald Trump victory and him being elected as president, whatnot. Well, things have changed in the last 9 days, especially if you believe the polling. Between the fundraising we saw with Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris now inserted as the head of the ticket now, as opposed to Joe Biden. Joe Biden is saying he would not run for re-election. Kamala Harris inserted as the presumptive nominee for the Democratic Party for president of the United States. You've seen the fundraising go through the roof, the record-setting fundraising we've seen in the last 9 days. And now the polling is starting to come in now. And look, the polling is coming in, and it looks like everything's been reset now. National polls are showing Donald Trump against Joe Biden before his exit, that Donald Trump was leading by 3 or 4 points nationally and leading specific battleground states that matter, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and was starting to get numbers that was starting to trend outside the margin of error. Now, with Kamala Harris, the new polling has shown that while Donald Trump does still lead nationally, that lead has slipped. It's back to the margin of error. I think they showed Trump up by 2 points now nationally. And in certain specific states, Kamala Harris has now virtually tied Donald Trump in some of those states that he was behind on, that Biden was behind on for 4 points or around there. Some are tied, and some states even with Kamala Harris taking a slight lead. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. As someone that loves to talk about polling all the time, and everybody knows that I love to talk about polls because look, I'm not married to polls. I look at polling as information. It's not be all end all. At the end of the day, people still got to go vote. Okay, you still got to go out and make a decision in the ballot box. So I'm not that naive to say, oh, the polls are going to be the be all end all. They're not the be all end all, and in fact, you can't just rely on those things. But here's what's happened with this election in the last 9 days. We've gone from a situation where the Democratic Party, who was, if you're voting for Joe Biden, it's not because you were enthusiastic about Joe Biden. It's because you didn't like the other guy on the other side of the aisle, in Donald Trump. Now you have a situation now where, and look, I'm going to sit here and say it's Obama-esque, but there's a little bit of that vibe now, in terms of people being excited about who they're going to the polls for now. You're seeing Zoom calls now, 40,000 women on a Zoom call, 50,000 men on a Zoom call for Harris. So what you have now is a Democratic Party now that's actually enthusiastic, almost in the same way the MAGA folks are also enthusiastic of Donald Trump now. And we have not seen that since 2008 and 2012 with Barack Obama. So that is why, if the polling is to be believed, is where it is. Now, there's still a lot of things that has to happen going forward before I believe that Kamala Harris has gone from not just being even with Donald Trump to now probably the possible favorite to win the election. Number one, she needs to debate Donald Trump. She needs to get on the debate stage with Donald Trump. The word is now that Trump is not going to debate with her until she is officially the nominee for president, which we won't know until the Democratic convention, which is going to be in, I think it's August 22nd through 25th, I believe, or what is that third weekend in August, when she should be, inserted as the official nominee for president of the Democratic Party. By then, we'll also know who her VP running mate is. But of course, she has a couple options there. I'll get to that in a second. But she's going to debate Donald Trump because, to me, we are still in a bit of a honeymoon period now when it comes to Kamala Harris. And I get all that. There's still a lot more to go. But this election right now, it feels like it's reset. And this is why I kept saying for weeks, I've been saying for a year and a half now, that Joe Biden, whether or not you agree or disagree with how good a job he's doing in this country, and he's done some good things, obviously, with infrastructure and all that stuff. There's things also to knock him on as well, too. But there's bad, weird optics with Joe Biden. What we keep hearing across the board about Joe Biden from Republicans, independents, and even Democrats, even ones that like him. Oh, we love Joe Biden. He's just old. And the thing is, we went from the Joe Biden's old situation now to when we saw the debate in June. He not only looked old, he looked like he was barely functionable anymore. And that's weird optics. And the polling went the other way as a result of that. And you have to use that information out there based on, you have to use that information also to do what's out there. Because the same information that you may not be on polling, well, political parties use that polling as well, too, to make decisions on. And look, I have my own personal disagreements with how Democrats did this in general. I'm a firm believer in a primary. I'm a firm believer in letting the people speak. But that's not my party. I'm a Democrat first. I'm a Republican, so I can't speak on those things. I'm not a member of those parties, so I can't speak on that. I have an opinion on that, but I can't speak on what they should and shouldn't do it because I'm not a member of that party. But this is their own party rules. If they allow this is what they do. And look, Joe Biden did get pushed out. Joe Biden, even the day before he decided to leave the race, leave the race. Said that he was going to run. He was going to continue running and that. So someone obviously got in his ear. But the reality is that the Democrats did, in terms of political gaming, did the right thing here. But Kamala needs to debate Trump, and I think it will happen still. There's still a tentative debate on ABC, I think, in September, planned, but there's nothing formal with that as yet. In terms of like vice presidential nominees. I'll tell you what, I've been doing some research on things. The guy I like a lot is Tim Walz in Minnesota. That dude is doing some great things in Minnesota. He's doing the work of the people in that state. He's progressive in things that I believe in. Getting free school lunches in the state. He's getting a lot of good things going in there. There's a lot of listings. I had a notes of stuff I forgot to bring it here, but just some really good stuff there in the state of Minnesota as governor, very popular governor. Obviously, Josh Shapiro would be a ideal pick because Josh Shapiro also is just the governor of Pennsylvania, a state that Democrats, well, both guys need it, but Democrats especially need to win this election. That's 20 electoral votes right there in that state. That is the coup de grace of this entire election. You still got Andy Beshear in Kentucky, in a red state, two-term Democratic governor in a state, in a very red state, doing a very good job and very high approval ratings too, also especially. So it is possible for a Democratic governor to run a red state and whatnot. Those are the three guys that, in my opinion, are the favorites. I like Tim Walz personally, based on the work he's been doing. And like I said, I actually watched an interview with him on, I think it was at CNN on whatever station he was on this weekend. I saw an interview with him recently, and he just looked like a common sense guy who gets the job done. It's all about the work, all about policy, and again, that's where I'm at. Policy, you win me over at policy, in a day. And a lot of conversations to my house about that too. Also, like I got a lot of flack from people close to me recently. Little inside baseball here. With the show, my wife, she listened to the interview with what I did with my friend Tori Spears. We had him on the podcast last week. Conservative commentator and good friend of mine. He's been on the show a couple times now. He's been a phenomenal guest on the show. He's definitely a red-leaning guy, not a Trump guy, but a conservative Republican. And I got a lot of flack from her and a couple of my friends because I did not feel I was challenging enough in my questioning with him. I didn't challenge him. I was debating with him. And I told her, like, the thing is, first off, it's really an interview. We're having a conversation, an interview. I know a couple of things on there that they thought I was strong enough on the issue. Like, for example, on state rights. And I remember saying, and maybe she was right on one part, like when she's talking about state rights, because he brought up state rights in terms of the abortion issue. And I know I've said this to him in the past on the podcast about that, where I see the value of state rights, because for a lot of, but to me, it's also itemized. It depends on the things that you are, what issues should be federal, what should be states. I've told him in the past, though, that women's rights should be a federal issue. That should not be a state rights issue. That's what I disagree with Republicans on. Okay. I see the value in state rights as a whole, but it depends on the issue you're talking about here. In the case of women's rights, though, that should be a federal issue. And that's where I'm at on that. But the people close to me, my wife, of course, included in that, thought I should have been a lot more aggressive with my talking points on that. And maybe she's right. Maybe she's right on that. But it wasn't a debate. It was a conversation we were having. And the reason why I didn't come stronger on that with her too, also, especially because we have already discussed those positions on previous shows before. So there's no way to double down on that again. At least that's how I felt at the time, but it's there. Obviously the conversation in this house, my household's been, my wife, who's not necessarily a big political person, but she does get into it with me, a little more inside baseball with us. Like when we first started dating in 2006, I was a Republican, actually. You guys know that. And she's always been a liberal. She's always been a very left-leaning person, staunch, does not care. She's not even divisive on that. We know where she stands on that. I was a right-leaning, a center right-ish guy when we first met. But at the time when we first started dating, I had already started to get a little, very much tired of the Republican Party at that point. That was during the Iraq War, Afghanistan. Then the economy goes to shit. I eventually left the party in 2008, and we both became MPAs. We became MPA at that point, non-party affiliate, and we both been MPAs since we've been together. She was MPA before me. I became MPA pretty much in 2008, and so we pretty much voted the same. Her and I voted much the same way every time since we've been together, because we, for the most part, we have same political views. She's more left-leaning than I am, obviously. I'm a center-left guy. She's definitely left-leaning, but there are issues her and I, we do sometimes have a little bit of divide on, and that's fine. It's healthy. But this has been a big conversation in my house recently, too, because, she's, things are ramping up now. We're now in July, doing it August next week, and we're getting to that final stretch down to the election. So things are ramping up now. And now with Kamala, being in as the front runner now, not front runner, but more so Kamala being the presumptive nominee, she's even more excited now. So the conversation in this house has been heightened a lot. Sometimes she'll tease me. She'll say, you're such a Republican. You're a Trump supporter. It's funny. I say one thing to defend someone, to talk about something that's a little more reasonable, and also I'm a Trump supporter. It's crazy. It really is. So I saw a comment too on one of those threads where, like, someone said that I was a GOP lover, and, like, really, I mean, I'm a Republican in about 16 years, if that, probably longer than that. But whatever. But yeah, this election has changed, and this election is going to be very much, I think, even more so in 2020, even more so in 2016, divisive in a lot of ways. This is where we are as a country, man. This is where we are as a country. And we've seen so much happen just in the last month or so. The debates gaffed by Biden, Trump nearly getting murdered, assassinated, and then, of course, what happened with Biden, leaving the race a week later. It's a lot going on, man. I love it. I as a content creator, I love it, especially. But it's also kind of sad that folks can't seem to get along. Just vote your guy and a person, vote your woman and leave. Call it a day. I was looking at somebody on Twitter earlier. Posted someone on Twitter earlier, on X rather. How can someone vote for this guy? How can someone vote for Kamala? It's easy. It's very easy to vote for someone based on who you like. No one is entitled to vote the way you want them to vote. We may have different ideas on policy, which is very, very easy to vote for someone else for that. Never understood that logic. People think that way, that we should vote my way. No. This is why I never told people to vote the way I wanted to vote. You know what I mean? If people ask my opinion, I'll give my opinion. But I'm not going to sit there and say, no, you vote this way because I don't know your situation. I don't know what you stand for. And I think people should be given the grace to make decisions on their own. We can't preach with a country of freedom, and then we don't allow them to do the things as they choose. It goes both ways, man. It does. So, but this race has changed. This race has absolutely changed. The dynamics has changed. We're virtually at a reset now. We got a lot to get to. We got the DNC come a couple of weeks. We'll obviously be covering on this show. We have, the possible debate in September, which I think will be a great debate. I think Kamala against Trump will be a phenomenal debate. And then you have, who knows, we can have an August surprise. You can have a September surprise, an October surprise. Who knows? We have a lot to get to between now and then. So look out for that. It's going to be a lot. And of course, we'll be covering here on this podcast. We will. All right.